looked at creating classes, we have looked at creating methods, methods that take parameters and return, and then they have return values. And then we looked at accessors and mutators. We looked at member variables. So we know a lot of the object-oriented design components. Let's talk about the design itself right now. So the first thing I want to establish here is it's not this topic is not something that you're going to good at immediately. In fact, you will need quite a lot of practice looking at different applications or different real world scenarios where that you need to turn into an object oriented program to actually get good at this thing. So the main reason why it has such a steep learning curve is because every object oriented program is different from everything else. For example, in our library analogy, the example, we said that there's a library object and there's a book object for each book that's there in the library. Now, you can't take that same thing over to say a banking application because a bank has accounts. There is no concept of borrowing in the same sense that you have in a library. You will have multiple objects in all systems, in most systems, but you can't take the library system and then use it in a bank, for example. So you will need to redesign everything from scratch for a bank. So it's only through this process of doing this over and over again that you will actually get the hang of things. Now, just to give an idea of how serious object-oriented design is, let me just show you the types of diagrams, just the diagrams they use to to go through the design process and the development process. So here we have a use case diagram, and you can see that there are these different, like the waiter, the client, and the cashier. This is in a restaurant, and there are these different things like ordering food, ordering wine, then the chef will be cooking food, and so on. So this is for use cases. And then we have a class diagram where we identify different classes. Now, this is for a different application. I'm just trying to show you the different types of diagrams that are there. So this identifies different classes, and this is for looking at different objects and how they are related inside a system. Again, these are all different examples. As you can see, they're all different. So the main difference between an object diagram and a class diagram is the class diagram only shows the types. If you recall, we said classes are like blueprints. So objects, the object diagram will have each and every object that you will have in the system for of a particular class. So that's an object diagram. And here we have an interaction diagram. I'm going to go through this very quickly because you don't need to understand what these diagrams do, but I just want to give you an idea of how serious this object-oriented design process is. So that's interaction diagrams, and this is a sequence diagram. This is a composite structure or a structure diagram. And here we have a component diagram. You have the different components, and we have a deployment diagram. And this is a package diagram, how things are packaged inside each other. And here we have a profile diagram, I believe. Yep. And here's an activity diagram showing different activities, and a communication diagram, and a state diagram. Now, a state diagram is actually not just an object-oriented thing, but it is certainly something you can employ for lots of different situations or different styles of programming. And we have timing diagrams. I couldn't find an example of timing diagrams, but I just wanted to show you that there is such a thing. And we are back. So just with diagrams, there's a ton of different ways of visualizing and doing this design this object-oriented design. So, as I said, you're not expected to get good at object-oriented design right away. So, in the next lessons, we'll take a look at how we can identify objects and classes and things like that in more detail.